Yes, there we go. There we go, guys. Woo! It's Sunday. It's Sunday, guys. This means a drink with Brink, where I talk with other indie creators about their lives and their careers and their books and their campaigns. Because I am kind of done with the mainstream. So independent comics and books is where the fun is, guys. Where the talent is. So yeah. So I hope you're all having a great Easter. It's really weird that I don't have a campaign going on right now. Usually I talk about the campaign, what the status is of the books and the campaign, and how many backers we got. But there's nothing going on right now because we are ready to fulfill American Bliss. But I can show you something else, guys. This is really cool. Let me show you something for a little bit, a little moment, a little peek at something that someone made for another campaign on Fund My Comic. So we have Fund My Comic, right, which is a new crowdfunding platform for indie creators, specifically for indie creators, right? So Dog Quasar, it's a really cool book, guys. It's a really cool book. It's now it launched on Fund My Comic, right? It looks really awesome. It looks great, and the reason I wanted to show you this because I want to support other creators, other books that I think look awesome. This is one of them, but also because he has a new variant cover that he did in collaboration with Genuine Comics. Look at this, guys. So Dog Quasar teams up with our very own American Bliss, guys. This is awesome. This is a variant cover that you can get through this campaign only through Fund My Comic. So please go there. I will put the link to this campaign in the chat. And I hope you will give it a look-see. So let me put in the chat real quick, guys. Let me see the comments. Here we go. Paste. There we go. Woo, there it is. All right, guys, it's in the chat. Please check it out. I will stop this. Stop the screen. All right. I will boomer my way through this entire stream. No worries. Okay. Let's say hi to the chat, to the people in the chat. I saw some of you here already. John A. Douglas. Welcome, sir. Welcome, John. How are you this Easter? Happy Easter to you also. And Michael Gibson with a familiar last name. Welcome, Michael. And we have Mike, fan of GDN. You still gotta tell me what GDN means, sir. Genuine and Dark Side is Comics. Good day. Show us. I just did, sir. Welcome, guys. All right, guys. Today, usually I have comic book creators. And I think this time will be a little bit different, but still awesome. I like to introduce you always to new creators, new people, showcase new campaigns. So let's just get this thing started, right? So let's have a very warm welcome for Sandy Butchers and M.K. Gibson.
Hello.
Welcome, guys.
That was a very warm welcome.
Yes, it was.
Thanks for having us, dude.
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are very welcome. So how are you doing today, this Easter day?
Wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, so far, so good. It's early for me, so.
Yeah, quite early.
It's not morning anymore, so you're fine, right? You're beyond the coffee stadium.
Yeah.
You are drinking something. This brings me to the question, because it's a drink with Brink. So what are you drinking?
You want to go first, Gib?
Generic brand protein shake.
A protein shake to get you through the day.
I did a workout before the video started, so I was just put something back in my body. So.
Right, exactly. And you, Sandy?
I can make it all very fancy and say this is a passion fruit with aqua de natura, but it's actually just squash, or as we Dutch people know it, limonade.
Limonade. Wow.
Limonade.
It's been a long time since I heard that word. Limonade.
It's all I drink, man. It's either that or tea.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay, guys. Right. So you are like, one of you is an artist, one of you is a writer. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. What's
you gotta guess which is which.
There.
Okay.
You gotta
Sandy,
guess which is which.
Yeah, Sandy, you're the artist?
In this case, yes.
All right. So Gibson, you're the writer behind this book. It's a book, right? We're discussing today.
Yes, it is. It is a book that we turned into an illustrated novel. But Sandy's also an author, and I also dabble in art. So it's
it's very confusing. For now, I'm the artist, Gib's the writer. Let's stick with that because.
So when you write the book, Sandy, then Gib will draw for you.
You don't want my art in her books, so.
All right.
Yeah. Right. No, Gib had a really cool idea a while ago. I think, what is it, 6-7 months ago now?
Something like that.
When I mean, we've been friends for longer than that. And at some point, I read one of his books. He read some of my books, and I became a really big fan of his work. The work being Technomancer. So at some point, just me being an artist, me not having any focus at all, I just started making fan art for that book, and I sent it to him, and he was like, "What?" And then came the big question. You know, it's pretty much like, "Do you want to illustrate my book?" It's almost as heavy as like a man asking a woman to marry him. Like, "Do you want to illustrate my book?" I mean, yeah. So that's kind of how we started working together. You know, so
right. Mm-hmm. So how did you stumble upon Gib's books? Did you find them online, or did you buy them somewhere?
It's quite a funny story, because a bit more than a year ago, we met on a super random Facebook group for authors, because on a lot of Facebook groups, it's not allowed to promote your own books.
Right.
So there was this one group that said, you know what? We are authors for authors. You're welcome to talk about your stuff and everything. So Gib talked about his work, I talked about my work, and we basically ended up buying each other's books. And so that was the first time I got in touch with the Technomancer novels.
Yes.
And it was just, I devoured that thing. It was so cool, and it was like super high tempo, like a lot of action, lots of humor. Actually, there was several times that I just laughed out loud. So that was like an instant addiction. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much how we met, and then a bit after we discovered that we played the same video game. So we started playing the same video game. So it basically just a friendship grew from there, and then from
which game?
Destiny 2.
Destiny 2.
Destiny 2, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We are Destiny nerds beyond.
big time, actually.
Yes.
Like, we went on a raid yesterday. Just like, if I didn't have a family thing to do, we'd be raiding today after this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you put a lot of time also in games, right? So luckily you have time to write also.
Question for John Douglas there. It was Find the Book, Find the Author on Facebook was the name of the group. That's where we found each other. The lady's name, I'm going to butcher it. I think I want to say Jenny Finke.
Yeah, Jenny Finke. She's a Norwegian woman. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I knew I was going to butcher it. And but she was getting sick of the same stuff, and like, because a lot of these groups want to talk about sci-fi fantasy, urban fantasy, cyberpunk, blah blah blah, but they only want to talk about like the same 6 authors from the big 6 publishers. They don't want you to talk about your own stuff. If someone says, "Man, I wish there was a book about, cyborgs and magic," and Sandy's wrote The Singularity, and she's like, "Hey, I've got a book like that." They're like, "No. We don't want to hear from you. We want to talk about the books that already exist." Yeah. I'm like, well, I've got something that is exactly what the poster wants. And they're like, we don't want to hear about that. Or they let you post in one thread once a week, and it's just a string of posts of people begging you. So Jenny created this thing specifically for, hey, readers, ask questions, authors, pitch your stuff, keep it short, keep it sweet, don't flood the thing. But like, if someone has a legitimate question, then answer it. If you've got a book or know of a book. And that's where Sandy and I found each other. Now it's like anything else in the indie world. Like, the internet gave us all the ability to put stuff out there, but now there's millions and millions of voices all crying for attention. So how do you get that attention, and how do you get eyes on? Right. So it's through the good graces of shows like yours and the fans like yours who are willing to hear us out and, hear a pitch or entertain an idea. It doesn't have to be ours. We would love it to be, but like, there's a lot of indie folk out there who make some really stellar stuff. And that's, you'll find what you want if you're willing to look. So. Right.
We have another question from John. How many convos about Sanderson and Malazan can you possibly have?
Oh my God!
One. And I'm done.
Right, and that's my point. Or Jim Butcher and the Dresden Files. As everyone says, hey, can anybody recommend an urban fantasy book? And someone always says Jim Butcher.
Always Jim Butcher.
That guy's been on top of the charts for like 18 years. He doesn't need, I'm sure he wants your money, but he doesn't need it anymore. It's like, it's like, have you heard of Brandon Sanderson? Like, yes, I've heard. Oh my God, have you heard of Kevin Hurd or Patricia Briggs or? It's like saying, have you heard of Todd McFarlane? Yeah, I know who these people are. I'm familiar with their work. Can you show me somebody else?
Yeah, like M.K. Gibson, right?
Right?
or Sandy Butchers.
Right. Mike says, Gibson, Technomancer, the cyberpunk is hitting me in the face, and it's welcome.
Nice. Yeah, that was on purpose because my last name is Gibson, so it was one of those, like, when I was creating this, my original title was Light Runner, but because that's the profession of the guy in the book, and it didn't quite feel right. So I went with the Technomancer as a nod to the other famous, slightly famous Gibson who wrote Neuromancer, because those are the kind of things I grew up on. I love the books I read in my youth, but I want to create my own thing. I think Sandy's the same way. I don't want to just regurgitate what's already out there. I think we want to take the inspiration that these people that came before us and build something new off the back of that stuff. So, move it in a different direction just to say, and while paying homage to and love and respect to those who came before us.
Of course. Yes. Welcome, Red Dress Press. Welcome, sir. We're talking today with Gib. I can say Gib. And Sandy.
Yeah, Gib is totally fine.
Right. About their book, Technomancer. And you're the writer, Gib. And so what got you into writing books?
Honestly, cartoons. When I was a kid, I loved, growing up with like G.I. Joe, Transformers, The Hobbit, these action adventure cartoons, which led me into books like, obviously I read The Hobbit. I read, the old Dragonlance books when I was a kid, and I read all these like fantasy novels and some of these really, and when you go back and look at them as an adult, you're like, whew, these aren't that great, but in your youth, they're perfect. Same thing, like a lot of things in your youth. So I've always been a writer. I've always been writing something in my life, but I was never afforded the opportunity to go to school for writing or to, get the education in writing or go to a proper college and meet the contacts who can put you in touch with people in New York so you can get So I went the opposite route. I joined the military because I was a giant. Are we allowed to curse in your show? I don't want to curse by accident.
Sure. Go ahead, man.
I was a fuck up. And I was a fucked up kid with a bad situation. I had when I tried to go off to school, I drank myself stupid and didn't go to my classes, and I was an idiot because I was just dumb. And I joined the military because I was out of opportunity. So over the 20 years that I was in the military, I met people, learned things, and I got to go around the world and just see things from all different walks, meet people from all different walks of life than my own, and bring that all together. So when I create characters, they're usually loosely based off of someone I've met in a real world situation. So the characters evoke, yes, I write a cyberpunk Technomancer world, but the people feel real because to me they are. So.
Right.
That's what drew me to this book in the first place, because, getting to meet Salem, the main character of the book, there was like this instant connection you have with this guy because he has traits of all the people you know. Like, I'm very sure when you read about this guy, you can instantly pick 3 or 4 people in your inner circles, and you're like, oh, he's got that from that person. He's got that from that person. Like, they're so relatable. And yeah, that's just something, Gib, you did so really well in that book. So yeah,
but you brought it out in the pictures too, like without very little direction. You just took what was written and evoked it. You put a face on it, and it's not just like what they look like, but the emotion that's being conveyed, or the action that's being conveyed, or the gravity or the humor of the situation. Your art brings that forward in such a way that, like, I guess I wrote it well enough that, like, we're both visual people that are just like, hold my beer, dude. I got this. I know exactly where you're going with this.
I mean, reading that stuff is, for me, it's pretty much just like watching a movie. It's just you have to flip the pages because they don't do that automatically, but it's the same as watching a movie.
Like I said, I grew up with cartoons, movies, and comics. I mean, I read a lot of books, but, like, I love the visual medium world. I'm just a shitty artist. So, like, so I can't draw like the way I want to. I can do like digital graphic design, sort of, but like that's not the same as the line art that you do, and that's what I wanted. So when I saw your work on Singularity, and that's what I said, this is who I want because she gets it. I've seen her take on a magical cyberpunk world, and I kind of have one as well. So, and I felt all dirty asking you, like, hey, I see you did this work over here, and it's really good. You want to do that for me? For like little pay,
exactly the sound, like the tone in your voice. Like you were, I don't know, were you actually scared? Because I remember exactly how you asked, like the way you sounded when you asked me, like, do you really, possibly, maybe, sort of, in a distant future want to do this?
Because when I'm not smiling, I look like a very mean person. So I tend to, my voice goes up when I'm asking a question. But when I'm just sitting around like this.
Yeah. Yeah, looking harmless.
No.
Right. I have resting angry face. So.
Welcome, Renarchy. Welcome, sir. Red Dress Press says, Technomancer, what is this then? Is it a crowdfunder that I need to get on my show too? Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Chris.
Hit us up.
Please and thank you.
Reach out to these people.
Yes, let's get in touch.
John A. Douglas says, Sir, Dragonlance action adventure cartoons. You're either my clone, my long lost twin, or my new best friend. All right.
New best friend.
You're getting fans already, sir.
Well, it's one of those scenarios because I loved those things because they were just so, it's not just because they were good guys and bad guys, because you had these moral quandaries within the realms. But yes, they were just toy commercials for kids, but I would take those action figures and play out like basically the scenarios I eventually ended up writing because I loved those action adventure cartoons, the Dragonlance, the Silverhawks, the G.I. Joes, the Transformers, even some of the old classic He-Man. And I mean, but that's the era which I grew up in. But oddly enough, that's the stuff that keeps getting cycled back over and over and over. It's you're seeing fewer things from like the 90s and 2000s that are make a comeback, but everything from like the 80s and early 90s keeps coming back around. But that's what I grew up with, and it's what I know. So, so when I write my action adventure stories, even my comedies, they still are going to follow that kind of pattern that like you're going to feel the buddy cop. You're going to feel that sort of like action nostalgia you had when you were young. So, but usually through like an R-rated lens.
Right.
Very, very R-rated.
With comedies, you mean the humor you inject in your own book? Or do you write comedy?
Like I would say, the Technomancer book specifically is a action adventure that is it's set in a dystopian world after the biblical apocalypse. When I was a kid, I was forced to go to church, and in Revelations it talks about how after the rapture, hell's supposed to rise and take over. I'm not, especially on Easter Sunday, we talk about this, but my point is like that's in the Revelation, that's supposed, the things to come. So that scared me as a kid. So I wanted to write about a world where that happens. So I injected like, obviously it's rife for urban fantasy. So I put cyberpunk in this post-biblical apocalypse where hell has taken over and mankind is just kind of like living but not living, And what if I had a character that was like, he was a smuggler who was collecting stuff from before the rapture, and that's how he makes his living, and
Wow.
kind of like a Templeton the Rat with guns, and what does that character do? And like, what happened to the human soul? And that's where the other characters come in and like show him there's a world bigger than he knows about. And that's where the buddy cop happens, where he meets this magical guy named Father Grimm, and the two of them go basically on a quest to like find the human soul. And it's interesting. It's got a lot of action and guns, but yeah, it's just so much fun to do. And
Wow.
Sandy has just blown me away with the art that she brings to it. So
Yeah. So Sandy, you started telling that you made fan art for Gib, right? About the book. So what was the response, Gib, when you got drawings from characters that you basically described? So you hadn't seen them visually, right? So did she immediately nail the visuals?
What did I say, Sandy?
I think you were speechless for a while. Does that count?
Yeah,
No,
it was.
There were in the stage of fan art. I think the general atmosphere was right, and then later on when we got to do the real official studies, like for the characters, to make sure that we got them right and we could keep them consistently right. There were a couple of characters that were just done. Like I nailed it. Apparently, I'm very happy with that. Salem was the first shot. That was right. We also had a couple of characters that we spent hours and hours just talking it over, looking at different tweaks, little changes, just characters that wouldn't let themselves be captured. We had a few of those, so it's really it's hit or miss, and then when you miss, you need to work until you actually do hit it. So yeah, I mean, in the case of the first fan art piece, I think that set the tone.
Right. So, because the cool thing is about books, right? So everyone has their own interpretation of this world and the characters. And when you illustrate someone's book, you have to find something that also resonates with the creator, right? So Gib has to feel that the character is perfectly correct. So how did you manage to find the character?
Well, we did a lot of we did hours and hours of Discord. We talked a lot, and so before I started making the illustrations for the actual book, I pretty much made a whole separate book, like the art of Technomancer, like the meet the cast, where I just did character studies. And I really went through them one by one. So first I worked on Salem, and I did like 4 or 5 illustrations to get him right. From there, I worked on Grimm, which is the character you see on the screen here. This is actually one of the studies that was that's not going to be in the book, but it's going to be one of the art prints that you get with the book.
Cool.
So it really was like in stages, like the first stage Salem, second stage Grimm. Like we did it piece by piece, so that for me, like I really enjoy working and then having something really finished before I move to the next stage. So that's pretty much how we went through the whole book. Like all the characters we need, study them, get them right, and then move on to the next. And then you'll see that as an artist, as you go, you will still be developing. If I look back at the illustrations I made in the end and compare them to the stuff that I made in the beginning, you can see that there's stuff changing, there's stuff happening. So I think the real challenge is not necessarily capturing. Well, I mean, capturing the essence is super important, but I think, as a whole, it is very important to maintain like the similarity. If I look at Salem in chapter 1, he needs to look exactly the same as in chapter 39.
Sure. Yes.
And I think that was, at least for me, the biggest challenge, throughout this whole process.
Right. Welcome, Edwin. Welcome, sir. Gibson, did you sometimes, based on Sandy's drawings, alter your own interpretation of your own character?
Well, that's the thing. Is like I wrote this. This book came out in 2016.
Okay.
The initial run. So I've been writing professionally. After I retired from the military. So roughly after 2016, my first book was printed, and there's 5 on the series out, and I've got like I think a total of 12 or 13 books out right now under my name.
Oh, wow.
So and so she came and this one, and it's funny. Is like she's like, hey, when you wrote this one scene, what were you thinking here? Because she was trying to do the art. I'm like, fuck, I wrote that so many years ago because it came out in 2016, but I started writing it like
Right.
in 2012. So when I was first like trying to get published and everything like that, and I've done tweaking since then. So it is, but we had such a discussion that when she first gave me like the very first pick looked very cool, and it was very Salem-esque because it was a character from behind and it kind of a duster and a, like cyberpunk Blade Runner kind of way. The one that she nailed was a follow-up picture of one of the one of the cyborgs in the book that's basically a cyborg Nikola Tesla, and she got that like boom, she nailed it. So, and that's when we started talking. So when we started making these characters, she would show me some of the concept sketches and I'd say, yes, this, no, that, more this, less that. And she says, who do you see as like, if I was to use a template, and I give a couple of famous people, for example, because it's easier to, and then she goes, boom, I got it. And then what she just showed back to me, like, that's him, that's Salem, or that's Grimm, or that's the rest
But
of the
sometimes it also happens that, I see things very differently, and I'm going to give an example, Gib, and you're going to laugh really hard. The Citadel with where Abraxas lives, and he apparently very clearly wrote that it was surrounded by canopies and trees and all that kind of stuff. And for some reason, my brain completely missed that, and I made it a ring of fire. Like everything was burning, and there was light everywhere, and it was very pretty. But he looked at it and was like, "Where are my trees?" And I was like, "No." So
Yeah.
I mean, it happens.
It broke my heart to say, like, that's so much light. Are the trees on fire? Did I write that the trees
Yes,
are
the
on fire?
trees are
It's
on
been a while.
fire.
And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I wrote there were topiaries and like garden statues up at the top of the top of the Citadel. You're like, son of a bitch, you did. All right. And then
Oh, wow.
So yes,
That's so
now the
fascinating.
trees are on fire. That's just how it is.
Welcome, Tony Horton. Welcome, sir. And
Hello.
Darkside is comics. Welcome, Darkside. All right, great. So how about look? So these characters are more like humans, so maybe easier to do, or maybe difficult. I don't know. But then you have characters like this guy, which is probably
Abraxas,
described very elaborate.
Yeah.
So you have to capture that on the paper. So is this easier or more difficult than a
No.
human?
So to produce this, obviously, it is much more difficult because it just you're dealing with such an amount of detail, and it all needs to come together. To come up with this for me was actually quite easy because the description was so vivid in the book. So it was easy to pick out what I needed in this drawing, but then to make it is of course a very big challenge. A little fun fact about this one is that this is one of the first, or I think it's the first or the second study I made for Abraxas. And very quickly I realized that this design was way too detailed to maintain that over a couple of chapters. Like there was no way I could keep this.
Yeah.
I could not make this the same in every chapter I drew him. So I very quickly came back from this and said, I need to simplify this, at least his armor, because there's no way I can keep up with this. So as a study, this one really worked, and as an art print, he pops. But in the book, he is a bit more simplified,
Right?
A bit.
Well, the thing is, like, but I like the art prints in the books too, or the stuff in the book, because there's like especially the one like it doesn't matter, like some of the scenes are so cool where he's like swinging the sword or doing whatever. It just looks kinetic, it's action, and it works. So, but I remember when you drew this and you were like, shit, now I've got to shade it and then I got to reproduce it. Like, what did I do to myself?
Yeah. Yeah, that happens to me sometimes. I get lost in a drawing and then I'm like, shit, now I need to do this again.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. All right. But it looks nice.
Thanks.
Let's stop sharing this so we can pull up your campaign, right? So we can discuss your campaign. Usually what I do right now around this time is show the trailer. But I've seen a bit of the trailer, and it's basically you two talking about the
Yeah,
book
yeah, yeah.
and the process.
It's-
So we might as well skip that and talk to you
Yes.
directly.
Well, there's
right?
there's a
save you
30-second
10 minutes.
trailer at the very top. that is just there's a 10-minute trailer of us talking about the book, but there's a
Right.
30-second trailer at the very top that shows more of the art and kind of a little
Actually, I think if you skip to the end of that video, like the last like minute or something, I don't know if you can. There's actually the book trailer integrated in that. So if you
All right. Yeah. Usually I download videos.
yeah,
but
just click that one, the very top one.
this one.
no, that's the interview. But if you click this one and if you
Yes.
just pause it for a second, and then you go all the way to the end of the video.
All right.
We came together creatively
keep-
because
go
we wanted to make
further.
heartfelt and like, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, even further.
So
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, right there.
Lovely. Oh, nice. Nice.
Thanks.
All right. Lord of Assholes. It also
Assholes.
says, right?
Just an idea of the sense of humor that you're going to find in the book, The Lord of Assholes.
Right. Okay. So I think you started 8 days ago. You launched this 8 days ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'll be a 60-day campaign. You now have 36 backers, right? You're
Mhm.
already funded, which is great.
That was great. Yeah.
Excellent. Technomancer, the illustrated edition. So there is a different edition also, because this was from 2016, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So the
this-
original
so-
book was. Sorry. You go for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. The original book was came out, and so there's a ebook version and a paperback version. But when Amazon offered like hardback editions, and I was talking to Sandy about that, I would love to do a hardback edition with illustrations mixed in with the writing, because with some people like, oh, is it a comic? No, it's not a comic. It is a novel with illustrations and a new cover and a new layout. So it's
Yes.
a book with some dope illustrations, and and the various parts of the backing of the tiers comes with art prints and an extra PDF of like the Meet the Cast and some more art. So for art fans, you're still getting art, and it's not a graphic novel. Just want to put that up front. So
Right. Yes.
It's basically a loot crate. Like you get a book and you get all kinds of extras with that.
Yeah.
So you're getting a box of awesomeness, basically.
Of course. Yes. Immortal Rising comic book. Welcome. Welcome. All right. So does this book have sequels, or is it just one story?
there are 5 books out in the series right now.
Okay, 5 books.
This book is this is first one is the illustrated version. So this is our first illustrated campaign together. Sandy and I would love to do the sequel, provided we get 100 copies sold.
Yes.
We have to make it worth her time, because it's a lot
Sure.
of art that goes into it, and it's you've got to get back to your artist. So
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Plus,
It's 6 months of producing and just pumping out illustrations. So
That's
and
a
yeah,
lot.
we said like when we get 100 copies, it's basically it's our one and only stretch goals. Like what we're going for, we got it funded, and we are super grateful for that. The real goal for us personally is to get the 100 copies so we can move on to part 2.
Right. So how many illustrations does this book have? Do you have per chapter?
Yes. So every chapter has an illustration. So in the entirety, you will have 40 full-page illustrations.
Right.
And it's
40.
a pretty big book, by the way. It's I think it's just a bit smaller than an A4. So for our Dutch people, like A4 is a pretty common size. It's going to be a little bit smaller. So there will be solid size illustrations in there.
Right. Yes. So the example here looks black and white with gray tones. Is that the entire book?
Yes. So
Yes.
we chose to do in grayscale. We discussed this. Like, do we want to go full color or do we want to do black and white? And the reason we did black and white is actually a very well considered one, because so the book is cyberpunk, but it has this very neon noir sort of sense to it. Like, you know, it's almost like the detective meets the flashy cyberpunk, but it's very gritty and it's very dark. And what we did is we chose to actually sort of embrace the dark and the grittiness. So we chose to do black and white because it makes everything that does light up pop even more. So yeah, it's all gonna be black and white. The only stuff you're gonna get in full color is, of course, the cover and the art prints if you back it on tier 4.
Right.
Well,
okay.
Also, every tier does also get the PDF of the 69 page behind the scenes meet the cast and like all some of Sandy's concept art.
Yeah, that's
great.
In color. That's in color as well. So.
Basically, you get 2 books. Yeah.
Oh wow! So you get concept art as PDF.
Yes.
You get the concept art. So that's a mix of black and white and color and our musings and things that we did while we were making it. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So are you, Gibson, are you self-published or do you have
I used to be with a publisher, and no fault of his, but he had a real life too. You know, what publishing was not his full-time work. He had a day job as well. We eventually parted ways amicably because I wanted to just stretch out on my own. And so I went full complete indie the end of summer last year. So everything I own is mine. So I put everything out. So it's, I have full creative control and I'm not beholden to anybody else. And that's,
right.
You know, great in some ways, really stupid in others. But it's given me the latitude to do things like this project with Sandy without having to ask permission or look at a contract, you know? So, you know, everything I do, I usually put out on audiobooks as well, or in Amazon and Kindle. But when we did this, we realized that, listen, the publishing bits for a hardback is really hard. It just is, you know, and it's expensive. So Amazon is the distributor, but the caveat is if you back us through the Indiegogo, you bypass Amazon. We sent you copies at tier 3 and tier 4. Those are the tiers where you actually get a copy of the book, in addition to the signed art, the signed author book plates, the PDF. Also, if you back us at all, your name goes in the book. Your name will go into a special section of the book as a thank you section, so it'll stay there in perpetuity for as long as the hardback is ever printed. So if for those fans who are like, I like it, but I don't want to support Amazon, you're not. You're supporting us because we take the hit and we send you the book, so you don't have to deal with Amazon.
Yeah. All right. Sure. Yes. So this might be a strange question, but this is something I always find fascinating, right? So you wrote your first book. So how did you know that you could write? So how did you know that what you wrote was good?
Ooh, that's it. Without the risk of being arrogant. The first couple of versions weren't. That's the thing. You know, I grew up reading, obviously, but just because you can read something doesn't mean you can write something. Just because I eat food doesn't mean I'm a chef. You know, I ride in a car doesn't mean I can fix one. So I spent a lot of time, honestly, like trying to teach myself. I mean, I learned to write at school. We all do, but it's like, that doesn't mean you can write a novel. So I started practicing little bits by little bits. And I took the time to learn what pacing is, what tone is, you know, but before I did all that, I wanted to make good characters.
Sure.
I think we've all read a book or seen a movie or watched a show that the trick or the world is the story and the characters suck. I've seen so many things like, this is flashy, but boring. You know, or this is, you know, this magic system is really cool.
Right.
And that's all it's got.
That's all there is. Yeah,
that's all there is. You know,
without the substance, right?
Right. And so if you just tell a story with like a person, like you have this character of mine, Salem, who lives in this world. He lives by himself. He doesn't think he needs friends or family. And we all been there. We've all been depressed enough to say, I don't need anybody. But we know that's a lie because you eventually need some kind of human connection. We all do. So when he has an opportunity to step outside of himself and go on this, start an adventure and to actually start to feel again, to care again, those emotions are infectious, you know, and that is what the story really is. It is a redemption story of an asshole. And
Not the Lord of Assholes, by the way.
But no, but that's the whole point. Yeah. So when he, he realizes that he can't be by himself, and then the second book comes along and there's consequences. Even all the good thing he does has consequences. So, I mean, you can't push back against the forces of hell and think they're not going to take it on the chin. They're coming for you. So, I mean, and that's the whole point of the story is like, so if you're going to start walking down this path to like be a better person and help people, you can't step off the path. And it's so much fun to write and people respond to that thing. So I don't know if I'm good. I do know that I entertain folks and that these characters stick with them. So those who read it, I mean, it's not a full 5-star across the board. I've got people who hate the book.
What makes you learn, just the quickest way to learn is to listen to the critiques you're getting. Your first book, it will come out and you'll get a ton of, well, if you're lucky, you're going to get a ton of reviews. And if you're very lucky, half of them are going to be good. Which is, of course, great, but it's the other ones, the reviews that are not so good that you want to pay attention to, because that's where your truth is. And that is where you will find the room for improvement. And of course, there will be some monkeys out there that will just say, oh, it's a 1-star review because it sucks. Fine, great, leave it. Yeah. And that's where you will learn. If you listen, if you're open to feedback, if you're open to people being critical about your work, I think that's the key to getting better. To be honest, sure. I mean, it's the same with illustrations. If I make something and Gib says no, then I'm like, but it took me hours to make it. But I can cry about it.
So hard on it,
right? Well, I can cry about it. I can say, all right, what needs to be done?
Exactly.
And then I can, that's when you get better. So, it's progress.
And just because I write it down doesn't make it good. When she and I are working on like our newsletter stuff for our fans, I'll send her a passage and she'll I like this, but what did you mean here? Because this is crap. I'm like, but I worked so hard on it. Should I rewrite it? I'm like, all right, I'll rewrite it. It sucks.
Ryu, welcome. He says, awesome work.
Nice, thanks.
Thank you so much.
So Sandy, are you self-taught with illustrations?
I started as a self-taught illustrator. But I cheated because I ended up doing Art Academy. So,
all right.
So I did study art after many, many years. But I think I mean I've been drawing for as long as I can pick up a pencil, and I've been getting pretty seriously into it. I think by the age of 13, 14, and I think when I was 20, that's when I started the academy. So there was a long time where I just dabbled into art on my own. Yes. Then I got 4 years of guidance, and then after that was all just me.
You wanted to bring it to the next level, right?
Yes, and and that's the thing with Art Academy is that they will always try to sort of force you in a particular direction. I was like, well, it's great. I'm very happy you taught me the techniques. Now I will do my own thing. Bye.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how that went.
Of course. So you like drawing like fantasy and sci-fi, or are you very broad regarding your
I'm
your
pretty
interest?
Broad. Yeah, my personal interest will always be with fantasy and sci-fi. That from my own personal interest, that's pretty much what I will go to. But I work as a commissions artist as well, and it can be anything: portraits, landscape design, and anything. So really? I can do I have a pretty broad range of things that I can produce. But
all right, so people can hire you for anything, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, great. Chris Fisk, welcome, Chris Fisk. Great, awesome. Oh, do we have something else? Ricky, this is Ricky, right?
Okay.
Ricky.
So who's Ricky?
So in every story, think of him as the godfather of the underworld in this world. There's always one person that is connected to everything. And if Salem's a smuggler and does some illegal things, Ricky is that godfather character, and he's probably the most dangerous character in the book, because when someone's plugged in and they know everything and know all the secrets and know where all the bodies are buried, this is the guy you watch out for, because this guy will wreck you if you cross him. And he's integral to the story in many, many ways. As you read, you find out. So, but that's the point. So when you have this enigmatic, aloof, like short but muscular, scary motherfucker, that's the guy you just know to walk on eggshells when you're around him. So, and it's obviously one of Sandy and I's favorites. I mean, I wrote the guy, but she loved drawing him because she loved like trying to get that quiet strength of like, you know, because I'm in love with that idea of like, because I grew up with like a lot of punk music, so that rockabilly punk sound, like the guy who wears like the sleeveless work shirt with his name on the tag and like chain wallet and boots, you know, and like, you know, and like just thick arms and like, you know, has killed before and will do it again. So, and if you're in his way, I love that idea, that concept of a character. So, I originally wrote him as like, I named him Rictus because of his smile, because it's just when he does smile, it's creepy, and everybody just calls him Ricky because of it. Because you know, it's that's the whole joke. It's like because he's just when he smiles, it's frightening. So
it's weird.
So,
I think there is one illustration in there where he actually smiles, and it even for me it was disturbing to draw that smile. It's like, oh no, please don't smile, stop it.
Wow, great, yeah. It looks nice. The story sounds interesting. So this is the first of 5 books, right? So will there be more books?
There's 5 so far. There will be 7 total when I'm done.
7. Okay, great. Let's go through the perks quickly, right? So
Sure.
The True Technomancer. What do you get for this?
You want to take it?
That's the whole set. The True Technomancer is like the highest tier you can get, which is the full loot box, the loot crate. So you'll get the hardcover copy of the book. You will get your name inside the book in our like dedicated section to say thanks to people. You'll get a digital PDF of the concept art, the behind the scenes, all the character study. It's a 69-page book that comes along with it. Mm-hmm. You'll get signed book plates, personally signed. So that basically means that all these plates have traveled halfway across the world, you know, to get both the creators.
You both will sign them, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You will get a 4x6 inch black and white art print. I think you showed that one earlier. It's the one where Salem gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you get a 6x9 inch, 3 of them, full color art prints. And you showed us all of them. So that's the Abraxas on the throne. That is the Grim standing near the candlelight. Now I need to remember. That is the one with Thor's hammer. Yes.
Yeah. So basically 4 prints, right? And
yes.
Right.
4 prints, book plate, and practically 2 books. 1 hardcover, 1 digital.
Oh, great.
And for fans of that art, so just the reason it's on that top tier is because it's exclusive, because it's not going to be reproduced anywhere else. It's just for this campaign. So there's that level of exclusivity that comes with it. You know, we might sell the book at conventions and whatnot, but the art it's for the campaign.
So, exactly. That's good to know. Welcome, Sim. Welcome, sir. Okay, then you can get the book Light Runner. Or no,
wait. The Light Runner. That's if you want to support us, but you want to get the book on your own terms. That's totally cool. We appreciate all the support. This is just you going. You get the digital PDF, and you'll get a thank you note in the book. But you will get the book sometime on your own.
Right.
Then you have the Land Baron, which is you still want to get the book on your own, but you want a little bit more. So you do not get the hardcover, but instead you'll get the digital PDF of the concept art. You'll get the 4x6 black and white art print, your name in the book, and of course the signed book plate.
All right. Ricky's Chosen.
Ricky's Chosen is the first tier where you actually get a copy of the hardcover. Right. So you'll get the hardcover book, you get the digital PDF, your name in the book, the book plates, and the black and white art print.
All right. Awesome.
And these are pretty much the same. These are just for worldwide shipping.
All right.
For people outside of all the other ones contain like the EU or the United States, but for folks like in the UK or outside of the EU, like we click on those. I have a friend of mine who just could not get his thing to work. Like, did you click the which one did you click on? Because he's living in Germany at the time, so I had to walk him through the process. So,
all right. Yeah. Another one for the True Technomancer, right?
Yes, that's also the worldwide. Yeah.
Right. Get it. Guys, the link to this campaign is pinned in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. Please check it, share it, talk about it, tell everyone about Technomancer, the illustrated edition.
Yes, please.
You have 36 backers right now.
Yep.
That's
We're almost halfway to our stretch goal, so we're almost
37. You're 37 now.
Oh, whoop!
Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel right now.
Yeah, every time it goes up, every time it ticks up one, I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Whoever was it, thank you very much.
That was I'm gonna get the name wrong. Worldwide, Siren. So, Siren, Siren, SIREN. Siren.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Whoever
Thank
that
you
is
so
in the
much.
chat, thank you so much. We truly do
Just
appreciate it.
thanks. Thank you.
No, as always, I mean, we do appreciate it. And fulfillments will begin in June. So
Okay.
this will run to the end of May. As soon as it closes, we're going to upload a new PDF. So it has everybody's name who said, who contributed, so that it goes, thank you. Books go to printers. We get our copies and start mailing them out. Just start stuffing and sending as soon as we humanly possible in the beginning parts of June. So our goal is to get all fulfillment done in June. We're just thankful to everybody who just has come along on this little dream and loves a good, just action adventure, cyberpunk, magic story
With art.
set in this crazy biblical apocalyptic world. So
Right. Wow, fantastic. Sounds great, guys. Check it out. Okay, let's stop sharing. Because we wanted to do a little shorter show today. So, to finish off, is anything else that we need to know that we forgot to talk about that people just must know about this book? Or, I don't know.
Siren, thank you very much. No, I remember reading that comment. Siren. So thank you so much. He said, hey, that's me. And it's pronounced Siren. So appreciate it.
Right. Oh, Siren. All right. Oh, thank you. That's me. It's pronounced Siren. Oh, thank you so much. Excellent. Sandy, if people want to follow you and check out your art or maybe hire you, where can they find you?
You can always find me on Twitter. It's basically just at Sandy Butchers. If you're looking for my commission sheets, it's sandybutchers.com. It's pretty much find your platform and then add Sandy Butchers and you'll find me.
Right. Okay, cool. And Mr. Gibson?
I could not get MK Gibson because someone else stole it. So it's at Gibson MK1 at Twitter. But you can mkgibson.com or just look up MK Gibson. Just Google MK Gibson. You'll find my Facebook. You'll find my website. You'll find me. One way or the other, if you take the time to send me a message or email or direct message, I always take the time to respond back. So I appreciate everybody who's just helped support this insanity.
Wow. Okay, great. Sandy and Mr. Gibson, thank you so much for being my guests.
Thanks so much
today.
for having me.
Thank you.
Having us.
yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, guys, this was the show for today. I'll be back, of course, next week with different guests. So same time, same channel, different guests. So hope to see you then. Bye-bye, guys. Have a
Thanks,
pleasant
Chris Fisk.
Easter.
I saw that pop in. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.